Alright, let's talk about a job that's a little cleaner than most I've done, but a whole lot more complicated. We're not crawling through sewers today. We're looking up, way up. We're talking about the Chengdu J-20, a fighter jet the Chinese call the Mighty Dragon. Now, you might hear fighter jet and think of movies like Top Gun. You picture sleek planes doing incredible stunts, and you wouldn't be wrong. But the J-20 is a different kind of animal. It's what they call a fifth-generation fighter. That's a fancy way of saying it's the latest and greatest, packed with technology that sounds like it came straight out of a science fiction movie. It's designed to be a ghost in the sky. The big deal with this plane isn't just that it can fly fast or carry a lot of firepower, though it can certainly do both. The real story is about what it represents. For a long time, when it came to top-tier military hardware, a few countries had a monopoly on the good stuff. The United States in particular led the pack with planes like the F-22 Raptor. The J-20 Mighty Dragon is China's way of saying, hey, we're in the club now. It's a symbol of their growing technological muscle and their ambition on the world stage. It's a piece of machinery that makes generals and politicians sit up a little straighter in their chairs, and for good reason. In simple terms, the J-20 is more than just a plane. It's a statement. And that, right there, is a story worth telling. So, what makes this J-20 a stealth fighter? It's a term we hear all the time, but what does it actually mean? Well, think of radar. Radar sends out radio waves that bounce off objects and return to a receiver, like shouting in a canyon and listening for the echo. The receiver uses that echo to figure out where the object is, how fast it's going, and what it might be. Stealth tech is about stopping that echo or making it fade into background noise, making a giant metal bird look like a small sparrow, or nothing at all on radar. The J-20 does this in a few clever ways. First, its shape. Sharp angles, flat surfaces, jagged edges. Those features deflect radar away from the source, like a weird mirror scattering light. This is called low observable design. Wings blended into the body, engines shielded, cockpit canopy with a thin metallic coating. Then, the paint. That dull matte gray isn't just for looks, it's coated in radar-absorbent material. RAM. Think of RAM as a high-tech sponge for radio waves. Radar energy gets absorbed and converted into a tiny bit of heat instead of bouncing back. The J-20 mixes hot exhaust with cold air at the nozzles to cool the plume. It's a complete package. Sneak in, do the job, sneak out. Every big project has a beginning. It didn't just appear out of thin air. This Dragon was born from a plan, a very ambitious one, that started way back in the 1990s. At the time, China's Air Force was flying jets that were generations behind. They looked across the Pacific and saw America rolling out the F-22 Raptor. They knew they couldn't just keep buying or copying older designs. They had to build something of their own, something that could hold its own against the very best. So, the program, known as JXX, was kicked off. It was a competition between two of China's biggest aircraft manufacturers, Chengdu, Shenyang. Think of it as a high-stakes bake-off, but with billions of dollars and national pride on the line. Both companies worked in secret for years, developing prototypes and refining their ideas. In the end, it was the design from the Chengdu Aerospace Corporation that won the contract. Their proposal was for a large twin-engine fighter with a unique canard delta wing configuration. The world got its first real glimpse of the J-20 on January 11, 2011. Grainy photos and videos started popping up online, taken by aviation enthusiasts near the airfield. At first, many experts in the West were skeptical, but as more evidence emerged, the reality began to sink in. Finally, in 2017, the J-20 Mighty Dragon was officially introduced into service, from a simple idea to a fully operational fighter jet in less than 2 decades. When you put the J-20 side by side with its counterparts, you start to see what makes it different. Let's look at the American F-22 Raptor for instance. For a long time, the F-22 was the undisputed king of the skies. It's an air superiority fighter, which means its main job is to hunt and destroy other aircraft. It's incredibly agile, fast, and stealthy. The J-20 is often compared to it, but they're built with a different philosophy in mind. The J-20 is a much larger and heavier aircraft. It carries more fuel, which means it can fly a lot farther without needing to refuel. Then there's Russia's entry in the 5th-generation race, the Sukhoi Su-57, which NATO calls the Felon. The Su-57 is a beast in its own right, known for its incredible maneuverability, super maneuverability. The J-20, on the other hand, seems to prioritize straight-line speed, range, and stealth over bleeding-edge agility. While the F-22 is a dogfighter and the Su-57 is an acrobat, the J-20 appears to be more of a long-range interceptor or a strike aircraft. Its job seems to be to travel long distances, sneak past defenses, and hit high-value targets. The size of the J-20 also hints at a very large internal weapons bay. One of the keys to being stealthy is carrying all your weapons inside the aircraft. This lines up with the idea that the J-20 is designed to be a Raptor killer. It's not about which plane is better in a one-on-one fight. Each plane is a different tool, designed for a different task, and the J-20 is a tool China didn't have before. When a new piece of hardware like the J-20 shows up, you can bet the people whose job it is to think about war are paying close attention. Military analysts, generals, intelligence officers have been studying this jet since the first photos leaked, and honestly the opinions are all over the map. In the early days there was a lot of skepticism. Some Western experts dismissed it as a crude copy of American designs, arguing that China lacked the sophisticated technology. But that view has started to change, and fast. In 2022, a top U.S. Air Force general confirmed that American F-35S had at least one close encounter with J-20S over the East China Sea. He described the J-20S as flying fairly professionally and noted that the U.S. was impressed with the command and control associated with the jets. That's military speak for these guys know what they're doing and their equipment works. It was a wake-up call. Many experts now believe the J-20 is a key part of China's anti-access/area denial, or a 2/AD strategy. That's making it too dangerous for an enemy like the US Navy to operate near China's coastline. The J-20 could be used to hunt for American tanker planes and AWACS aircraft. The flying command posts essential for projecting air power. By threatening these crucial support aircraft, the J-20 could effectively cripple an American air campaign. It's about taking out the opponent's queen and bishops before the chess match begins. Of course, there are still unknowns. The exact level of its stealth, the sophistication of its sensors and avionics, and the performance of its new engines are all subjects of intense debate. Some analysts argue that while it's a huge leap for China, it still has weaknesses and might not be quite as advanced as its American counterparts. But the consensus is clear. The J-20 is a game changer. It's a credible threat that forces other militaries to rethink their strategies, their tactics, and their own technological development. It has earned a healthy dose of respect, and in this line of work, respect is often just another word for fear. The arrival of the J-20 Mighty Dragon hasn't just worried the United States. It's actually sent ripples across the entire Indo-Pacific region and beyond. For countries with territorial disputes in places like the South China Sea, the J-20 is a very real and tangible symbol of China's growing military might. Nations like Japan, South Korea, India, Australia are all looking at this new jet and re-evaluating their own defense needs. It's one thing to deal with an adversary who has older, less capable equipment. But it's another thing entirely when they start fielding a stealth fighter that can potentially bypass your air defenses undetected. In response, many of these countries are accelerating their own military modernization programs. Japan and South Korea are major operators of the American F-35 Lightning II. The presence of the J-20 provides strong justification for them to buy more F-35s and develop their own advanced military technologies. It's basically kicked off a regional arms race, with each country trying to make sure it isn't left behind. Australia is investing heavily in its air force, and India is pushing forward with its own fifth-generation fighter program. Further away, countries in Europe and even Russia are taking note. While Russia is a strategic partner of China, it's also a major arms exporter. The J-20 represents a future where China is no longer a customer, but a competitor. If China decides to export a version of the J-20, it could offer a cheaper alternative to American or Russian stealth aircraft. For now, China has said the J-20 is not for export, but that could always change. The perception of the J-20 is essentially a barometer of a country's relationship with China. For China's allies, it's a source of pride. For its rivals, it's a cause for alarm. The J-20 isn't just military hardware, it's an instrument of foreign policy. Its mere existence influences decisions made in capitals thousands of miles away. It's a silent dragon whose shadow is long enough to touch every corner of the globe. So, what is the actual job of a J-20 pilot? What is this plane designed to do on a day-to-day basis? Well, its primary role isn't likely to be the classic Hollywood-style dogfight. The J-20 is what military folks call a strategic asset. Its main purpose is to achieve big-picture objectives that can shape the outcome of a conflict. One of its most important jobs is to serve as a long-range interceptor. It would fly out over the ocean, using its stealth and speed to find and destroy an opponent's most valuable and vulnerable aircraft. Aerial refueling tankers, fighters like the F-35, fighters like the Fa-18, AWACS planes with those big spinning radar domes on top. They are the eyes and ears of the entire fleet, directing traffic and spotting enemy threats from hundreds of miles away. These planes are big, slow, and not very maneuverable. High-value targets. The J-20, with its long range and powerful missiles, is the perfect tool for hunting them down. Another key mission for the J-20 is airfield strike. If a conflict breaks out, one of the first things you'd want to do is prevent the enemy from getting their planes in the air. The J-20 could slip through enemy air defenses and drop precision-guided bombs, runways, hangars, fuel depots. By taking out an airbase, you can ground an entire fleet of enemy fighters without ever having to engage them in the air. Finally, the J-20 is also an incredibly valuable intelligence-gathering platform. A J-20 could fly close to enemy territory without being detected, map out radar locations, listen in on communications. That information could then be used to plan future attacks. In the information age, knowing what the other guy is doing is half the battle, and the J-20 is a first-class spy. You can have the slickest, stealthiest airframe in the world, but if you don't have the engines to push it, you've just got a very expensive glider. The engines are the heart of any fighter jet, and for the J-20, this has been the most challenging part of the whole job. For the early prototypes and first production models, China had to rely on Russian-made engines, specifically the Saturn AL-31. But they were a temporary solution. Relying on another country for the heart of your top-of-the-line fighter is a major strategic weakness. The real goal for China has always been to equip the J-20 with a powerful, domestically produced engine. This is an incredibly difficult job. Jet engine technology requires advanced metallurgy to create turbine blades that can spin tens of thousands of times per minute, while withstanding temperatures that would melt most metals. It also requires incredibly precise manufacturing and decades of experience. For a long time, this was considered China's Achilles heel, the one area where they were still lagging far behind the US and Russia. Over the last few years, however, we've seen major progress. China has been working on a new engine called the Shenyang WS-15. This high-performance turbofan is designed specifically for the J-20. The goal is to provide enough thrust to allow supercruise, flying at supersonic speeds without using the gas-guzzling afterburner. Being able to supercruise means you can get to the fight faster and stay there longer, all while being more fuel efficient. Recent reports suggest that J-20s equipped with the new WS-15 engines are now flying and may even be entering operational service. This is a massive milestone. It means China has largely overcome one of its biggest technological hurdles and frees them from reliance on foreign suppliers. A J-20 with a fully mature Chinese-made WS-15 engine is a far more formidable and strategically independent weapon. It's the final, critical piece that makes the Mighty Dragon a truly homegrown threat. So after all that, why does this one plane terrify so many people? It's not just because it's fast or stealthy, it's because of what it represents, a fundamental shift in the world. For decades, technological and military superiority was something the West, particularly the United States, took for granted. The J-20 is a loud and clear message that those days are over. It proves China now has the resources, knowledge, and political will to develop military technology on par with the very best. The fear isn't necessarily unprovoked attack tomorrow. The concern is how it changes the strategic calculation. Its existence raises the stakes. It makes potential conflicts more dangerous, more complex, and more costly for everyone involved. Military planners can no longer assume total air control in Pacific conflicts. They must account for a stealthy, long-range adversary threatening their most critical assets. This jet is also a symbol of China's broader ambitions. It's part of a larger puzzle including a rapidly growing navy, advanced missiles, and a world-class space program. The J-20 is the tip of the spear, giving China more options and leverage in dealings with other countries. It allows them to back up diplomatic and economic power with credible military force. It's not just an airplane, it's a symbol of a superpower coming into its own. Ultimately, the J-20 Mighty Dragon matters because it's a sign of the future. It's a future where technology is more widespread, where power is more distributed, and where no single country can dominate indefinitely. It's a more complicated and in some ways more unstable world. Understanding the J-20 isn't about being a military geek. It's about understanding the direction the world is heading. It's a big, loud, and very expensive piece of machinery that tells a simple story. The game has changed, there are new players on the field, and this new dragon is here to stay. And that's something you ignore at your own peril.